Hello. First video in the living room for the Blonde Karen Society. So, I had to switch my computers. Okay, I have two Chromebooks. One is hooked up to clay and putty videos. The hackers destroyed my camera in it, which is sad. So, and in the process of this deconstruction of my camera, some very interesting video came out of it. And that video is stored in the other computer. I was first thinking, should I power wash it and that way get all the hacking stuff out. I hope they didn't damage my entire computer, like the inside of the computer, the actual elements of the computer, the minerals and metals and all of the computer's electronics and all of that and the hard drive, as they call it, where the basic modalities and programs are engraved into. So I was thinking, what if they damaged that? I can't find out about this now, because I thought if I power wash it, then I don't know if my Chrome files get saved or whether they're dependent on that computer. So I'm not so sure. I'm not an expert on how Chromebooks work exactly. I just know that they work better than Microsoft, and I don't buy Apple computers because of ethical reasons, because they did terrible things to promote Apple. They did terrible things to animals. I'm not going to get into this now. So for me, that's forever done. I'll never buy an Apple item ever. So for some reason, it's starting to freeze in here too. I wonder what's going on now. Maybe this has to do with the internet being extremely slow. I don't know. So I hope it doesn't happen again now in this camera. That would be really sad. But anyway, my last video I made on clay and putty videos that I uploaded also to YouTube. I wanted to see if that green stuff shows up. It didn't show up, but it shows up in the video that I have saved in the computer. So for some reason that did not get uploaded. This is very strange. And it's very strange, that video, because it shows like a yellowish moss type of green, darker than that one and more like that color. Yeah, pretty much like that color actually. And very kind of glowing, and it has different tones of green inside, and it has digital fragmentation in it, and it looks like it has my face, but in sort of in transparent, like in a sci-fi film where someone makes themselves transparent, but you can still see sort of the outline of that body, but in some kind of a like a jello type of material, and that's how that looks too. But it looks like it has two faces in that green screen, and then on the top above the faces there are hieroglyphs showing up. That could just be the pixels being fragmented, and I know it is, but that's what most people don't know, that other dimensions and entities can actually show themselves in such a fragmented, so-called seemingly random pattern formation. So they use this type of thing. They use that modality. It could be anything from a rug that had been stepped on, or lint material scattered over the floor, or folded blankets. There are 2 folded blankets over there on that ladder that are in the shape of gnome faces or troll faces, but very sweet, like the garden dwarfs with the hoodies that fold over like this and with a big nolly nose. And so that's how they look, and they smile, and they were looking at me from that other perspective the other day. Also depends on which perspective you look at it. For a skeptic, it would be, that's just folded blankets. That's just a so-called coincidence that from your perspective, that where you're standing and looking at it, it appears like gnome faces. But that's freezing in now. I think that's the internet connection, or the hackers already got to this account. I don't know. But I know one thing is that I had a hacker on the other account constantly turning off the reply notifications so that I wouldn't see that people have replied to my comments under other people's videos, and I wouldn't be able to refute them. I would be silenced, from ever returning their response and talking any sense into them, because obviously somebody doesn't want me to talk sense into people. And I have also been blocked in many of the chat rooms, but the science chat rooms, they don't block anyone, they don't moderate it. They have just the YouTube guard bots that are throwing out really nasty comments, which is nice because, who needs to read nasty comments? It's just nonsense. So it's just nonsensical waste of time to read nasty, violent troll comments from people. So it's good that the guard bot on YouTube is throwing those out right away. I think that's great. Okay, we're already moving in the right direction in regards to the singularity. So that'll be so much better, because it's gonna gradually make the public more intelligent by doing that. So because, and then in the future, we're also gonna need to get rid of really, really violent movies. So I'm afraid that the human species is not gonna let that happen, because they profit from it, and whatever makes them profit, they will keep. They don't think about what it does down the line to people's intelligence. It diminishes their intelligence, and it desensitizes them and makes them brutal. So it just creates more cluster B personality disorders, and we want to get rid of that. So that's why I discussed this particular subject on my other channel, Clay and Putty videos, in depth about the therapy centers that need to be established. I'm not going to be the one doing it, because I just don't have the financial or the lawyer leverage to do it, because that's a risky business to set something like this up. That's why a lot of groups go into the area of spirituality and stuff like this, in order to bypass this subject of therapy centers, because once you declare yourself as a therapy center, then you are responsible and you can be sued from all kinds of people claiming all kinds of things. So anyone who's in the medical field knows that. So that's why a lot of those people like Scientology declared themselves as a religion instead of a therapy. It's really just a therapy. So, and then of course it turned bad, because then the people in charge were taking advantage of their followers and exploiting them financially and mentally. And it's a tragedy. It's really horrific, and that does need to come to the surface. And I'm really grateful for every whistleblower out there who is exposing that for what it is. But that's not the only thing. It's just a symptom of our society. Scientology is a symptom, okay? And we need to understand that. So there are so many things that go through my mind and that I want to share with other people that are so incredibly important to get into and to dive into in much more depth and detail, to understand how all of these things are functioning. And when I see people talk in chat rooms, I see there's just a huge variety of different brains in there, and I can tell by the way people write, whether they are on drugs or on alcohol, whether they are bummed out, whether they're so-called incels, whether they're full of hatred, and they're also not respecting themselves and their own bodies. I see so many accusations on the internet, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere I go. There's always accusations being thrown from one person against another, from one group against another, one nation against the other, one religion against the other. It's just accusations that are flying, and it happens because people don't do introspection. They don't sit down in their own home on their couch in quietness. They don't sit down and look at the trees. And so I highly recommend to people to do this, to sit down somewhere comfortably and look outside the window or the balcony door. Look into your garden, look into the trees, and calm down your brain, okay? And get away from thinking about other people, what they think of you, or whether this or that group accepts you or not. Put that aside, just for an hour a day, okay? Your brain will be freed. It's almost like a computer where you take out stuff that you don't need in there, that just takes up space. It's the same with the brain too, You need to really do an inventory, and you need to completely do a total meditation on inwardness, introspection. And you need to just throw out stuff that takes up your space, your precious space in your brain. Okay, you need your brain to help make the world better. That's what this life is about. It's about learning and growing, not about stagnating and going backwards. That's what most people are doing. Okay, now more than ever, they want to go back in time. They want to bring the last 300 years back in time. They want to go back to the Inquisition. Okay, so that's why I make these videos, to let people know that we can do better than that. We can make it better. Okay, so protect our civil rights. Okay, take care.